Welcome to the Travel Light Adventure Duo podcast. I am your host, Enzo Nitti,
And I am Melanie Tucci. Happy
and
to be back.
so happy to be back. I mean, it's been months.
It's been months since we recorded our last podcast.
Yeah, we have
Been busy.
doing nothing, just walking around.
Walking around.
That's all you've been doing. Is just walking around.
Yeah, walking across Europe.
Yeah, we've been a little busy. Melanie was doing the Camino de Santiago for 2 months, and then which was followed by doing the hike through the Dolomites, doing the Alta Via 1, and that's what we'll be talking about today. Our hike through the Dolomites. We did the Alta Via 1, a 9-day trek. Melanie organized this entire trip, and we took 16 people with us to hike through the Dolomites. And I'm not, I'm not a hiker, but I tell you what, this was an intense hike in the best way possible.
Yeah, after I tricked you into doing the Tour de Mont Blanc, you said you wouldn't. You said you didn't want to do a hike that was that long again, and then you forgot and you did the Alta Via 1. So
Well, technically,
I'm proud of you.
I didn't do a hike that was as long as the TMB. Days were shorter, but definitely
Yeah.
felt longer.
Yeah, because the TMB was 12 days
Yeah.
and the Alta Via 1 was 9 days. Yep.
Yeah, and it was crazy. In this podcast I want to talk about everything from our itinerary to the refugios to some memories that we had. But first, I mean, from the outside looking in, I was just and I'm supposed to be a co-host on this, and I was just going from hut to hut hiking, being my happy ass, just traveling around. But you have been planning this since November of last year.
I think I booked the first refugio in August of 2023. So about a year in advance, I started making reservations for this hike.
Is that necessary?
Yeah. So the funny thing about the AV1 and the TMB is a little bit easier to book. I would say they're both a little challenging. They require a lot of planning.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is that these refugios, which are the huts that you stay at in the mountains, they're all family owned. And some of them don't really have hardly cell service
Or Wi-Fi.
So some of them you have to pay in cash. And so you can imagine, like, you are making reservations directly with these places. They don't usually have fancy websites. A lot of times it's just like emailing them and being like, hey, do you have space on this night? So you're trying to kind of like piece together this 9-day, 75-mile trek with all these different huts that are individually owned and operated that all have different booking systems. So the way that I started out was by making a spreadsheet of pretty much all the huts that are along the Alta Via 1, and then doing a lot of research to choose which ones I specifically wanted to stay in, mostly based on reviews from other people. And then I started reaching out to them and saying, hey, when do you open your bookings for the 2024 season? And then I started making a spreadsheet of when they open. So some of them would say, oh, we start taking reservations on December 1st. And some would say January 1st. And some would say August. Like, they all open at different times of the year. So I just kind of put together a spreadsheet and then made sure to reach out to them on the exact day that they told me they would be open. And then I just got really lucky by being able to get 16 reservations at each of the huts that I wanted to stay at.
Was there a language barrier trying to reach out to these people?
They all spoke English. So I did send my emails in English.
Okay.
And they all responded in English. And, sometimes it wasn't, the most perfect.
Yeah.
But still it was totally fine. And I would say our experience at the huts in person, everyone spoke English.
Yeah,
right?
everybody spoke English.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of a language barrier. They're used to getting people from all around the world. They're used to a lot of people who don't speak Italian.
Mm-hmm.
So they speak English.
The last refugio that we stayed at, I was, I saw that she was making all her bookings and all her accountings was on like I don't know, like a beaten notebook, and her
Yeah.
accounting was
All in
like
paper.
her accounting was all on paper, and her like inventory of money was like in a cookie jar.
Yeah.
And it's just like that's how she's been doing it for
23 years.
40 years. They saw the picture on the last Refugio, said 1983 was when they started building that place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know. I don't want to jump into the Refugios just yet, but I was really impressed, especially with the Tournament Blanc experience to this experience. Both Refugios had their pros. Both of them were beautiful. Both of them were in an amazing places. But the Alta Via ones, they were a little next level. They were a little bougie.
Yeah. I think that one of the most surprising parts for me is that they gave us towels. And I was like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. Where are we?
Yeah.
We're being provided with like these plush towels, and some of them even had bathrobes for us.
One of them, the heated floors.
Yeah.
That was nuts.
They were really nice. The first 5 nights felt like pretty luxurious experiences, I would say, as far as trails go.
Yeah, and then afterwards it was just kind of like we were getting into a little bit more remote places. So,
Yeah.
But even then, it was still
They were still really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. I was really impressed by the Refugios as well.
So let's tell people about our itinerary, because everybody's itinerary is different depending on your pace, how many people you're with, where you can get your bookings. We met somebody on there that was doing it in 5 days, but they were like running the entire time. And we found out that they can transport bags through this service. And so you want to tell them a little bit about the itinerary and how we started, and then I'll kind of just chime in on.
Yeah. So I think a common question when you're doing the Alta Via one is kind of like, what should I do before? What should I do after? You know, you're in Italy. You want to take advantage of your time there and see some other places before and after the trek. So I'll tell you what we ended up doing. And we started with flying into Venice, which I had never been to Venice before. So that was a really cool start and like welcome to Italy. So I would recommend flying into Venice and staying in Venice 1 or 2 nights at least. It's crowded, it's hot, yeah, but it's worth seeing. Like, I have never seen a city like that that's just built on canals. There's no cars. It was just like super interesting to see, like, ambulances are boats.
Yeah, everything was
police
on boats.
Cars are boats. They're police boats.
Yeah.
Taxis are boats. So
boat buses.
They're all they're all boat. Everything's a boat in Venice.
Everything's a boat.
It was really cool to see.
You think kids get boats on their 16th birthday?
Yeah.
They have to, right?
Yeah. Probably a lot of like boat parties too.
I saw some hooligans with some boats that were
bumping. Go so fast.
So fast. I saw one boat with spinners on it. So then what do we do after Venice?
So from Venice, we took a bus to Cortina.
An actual bus,
not a water bus. And it's like a 2-hour ride through the mountains. So you enter the Dolomites on the bus, and it was a beautiful bus ride. I like had my mouth open the whole time, like, whoa, these mountains are insane. You see lakes and
a little windy.
I don't really get motion sickness, but did you get motion sick on that?
Yeah, I had to take the Dramamine.
You get motion sick pretty easily.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
If I'm not driving, I am nauseous.
You're sick.
Yeah, so if you get motion sick and you're doing this, make sure you have non-drowsy Dramamine on you at all times, because some of the rides are a little windy. But you're right. It was absolutely beautiful. And then we get to Cortina, which is just the most amazing mountain town ever. It was kind of like a Breck or something, like a European Breck. It was crazy.
Cortina is stunning. I couldn't get over the mountain backdrops in that town.
Yeah.
Just everywhere you look.
They're doing the
2026 Olympics.
2026 Olympics, which was really cool to see people developing. There was a lot of hotels being renovated and a lot of work being done. Not enough to be like distracting and take away from the experience.
It
but
was cool to see, I thought.
It was really cool to see them building the venues of where they're going to do all these events, and how the whole city is kind of just revolving around those winter sports.
Yeah.
It's an amazing place to do it. I mean, it was gorgeous. I can only imagine how the skiing and the snowboarding and everything else is during the winter over there.
Yeah, it'll be cool to watch some of the Olympics and see Cortina.
And all the people. There were so many athletic people there riding like with their bikes and just it's
mountain folk.
But it's different mountain folks. It's not like ski bums or anything. It's like a triathlon, triathletes.
Yeah.
And triathletes. And it was really, really amazing to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely recommend staying. I think I stayed in Cortina for 4 nights. It's pretty expensive, but other than that, it's absolutely worth spending, I would say, minimum of 2 nights, 3 nights if you can, because there's some really incredible stuff to do in Cortina that I'll tell you a couple things that I would highly, highly recommend when you visit Cortina. One of them is the Tre Cime hike. It's one of the most famous hikes in that region. And I did that on my first full day in Cortina. You take 2 buses to get there. It's a little annoying to figure out how to get there, but if you ask in the tourist office, they can help you. And that hike was spectacular.
That was eventful for you too.
It was eventful because we got dumped on. We were soaking wet and we were very cold.
Yeah.
So, always be prepared for the weather in the Dolomites, but do not miss the Tre Cime hike it was a little crowded. Okay. Not going to lie. It was a little crowded, but absolutely stunning and worth doing.
That's the one that you took like 2 gondolas.
2 buses.
2 buses.
2 buses. The other thing that I would recommend is the gondolas. So there's 2 different things that you can do. What we did was we took the gondola up to, it's called Tofana, which is the highest station. So I don't know the names of the first 2 stops, but there's 3. And if you're in Cortina, and you're facing, I think it's west.
The mountains.
Yeah, if you're facing the mountain, well, there's mountains like all around you, but you'll see 3 refugios kind of connected by a gondola. And so you can take a gondola to each of those and you go to the very highest one and it is freaking high.
Yeah. If you're afraid of heights,
if you're afraid of heights, it's pretty intense, but it's awesome. So we went all the way up there and then we went to the lower 2 and it was so gorgeous. You can eat lunch up there. You can have a glass of wine. You can just like sit in the sun. They have all these comfortable chairs, especially at the first one. You can do little hikes around them. So when you're going to Cortina before the AV1, I would stay a minimum of 2 nights so that you can do the Tre Cime hike and take the gondola to Tofana. Those are my recommendations.
Awesome.
Yeah. Now we can talk about the AV1.
Yeah, we could talk about the AV1 because we woke up ass crack of dawn and had a very nice Italian man pick us up and take us from Cortina to, what was our first starting point?
Lago di Brais.
Lago di Brais, where we saw the most beautiful lake behind with this mountain, and it was the hotel. What was the hotel that was there?
Hotel de
Brais. Yeah,
I
think it was
a big fancy hotel.
It was gorgeous, and that's where most people start the Alta Via one, right?
Yeah. It's the starting point.
Yeah,
of the AV one.
We were very blessed to have nice weather that day. So nice weather that we captured a couple getting married out on the dock while we were over there.
Mm-hmm. Like a 7 a.m. wedding. It was so beautiful.
It was just them 2, the person marrying them, and a photographer. And it was it was amazing. And there was a lot of people that enjoyed it, and one person that did not enjoy it. We met somebody that was very annoyed that somebody was getting married at that time, just ruining all her pictures. She's like, could you believe how selfish these people are all getting married on this beautiful lake, ruining all my pictures? I traveled halfway across the world to see this. Anyway, sorry, I had to I had to get that out because
Tangent.
it just kind of like rubbed me the wrong way. It's like, if anything, that the people getting married made the picture so much better.
Yeah,
It was
it's
beautiful.
all about perspective, and that lady just wasn't having it.
Just had a different perspective.
Uh-huh.
So we start
Yeah, so the AV1 starts real hot.
real hot.
3 hours uphill, 3,000 feet of elevation.
Like, it's like getting punched in the face. Like, wake up.
Yeah.
Here you go. You're hiking.
Guess
now.
what? You're in the Dolomites.
Yeah. You got to get up
and
there.
You're gonna get your ass kicked immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It was a huffer. I mean, we took it slow.
mm-hmm.
Not, anything that's you need to get used to it on
Yeah.
this hike.
And it was 3 hours uphill, 3,000 of elevation. Our whole day was what? 7
Hours? What do you
7
mean?
miles?
It was a shorter one. I actually think the first day, it was between 5 and 7.
5 and 7 miles, and it took us 7 hours, more or less, just because of the uphill. I
Maybe
think
5 or 6 hours.
5.
So the first uphill was 3 hours, and
Mm-hmm.
then once you get to the top of that uphill, you pretty much see Refugio Biella, and then it takes you a few minutes to walk down to Biella,
Mm-hmm.
and then from there it's kind of smooth sailing all the way to Fodara Vedla, and I think it was about 2 hours. So yeah, probably a total 5 to 6 hours.
Should we pull up the commute to give people the exact mileage and what we did?
I don't think so.
No. Okay.
That'd be a lot. But I think if you're really interested in our exact itinerary and how far we walked each day, just reach out to me on Instagram and I can share all that information with you.
Because we used an app called Komoot that we were able to plan out each hike, which was cool because we were able to do it offline. So we didn't need cell service. It was all GPS, and we were able to download it on our phones, and we were able to stay on track, which helped us a lot multiple times when we got a little bit off course, get us back on course. And it told us about the mileage, expected how much elevation, descend. And
if you're doing the AV1, definitely have some kind of offline map because there are not always trail markers. So having something that you can have even when there's no internet is essential, in my opinion, to just make sure that you're on the right trail, because the Alta Via 1 is one of many, many trails.
There's 9, right?
In the Dolomites.
They're
Not all in the same area, but even in the area of the AV1, there's all kinds of different trails you can take going to different places. So
didn't you meet 2 crazy people that were doing it without any maps?
On the second to last day.
I think they were kidding.
No, they weren't.
That's crazy.
Two
They're
girls.
probably out there 2 months. They're still looking for the trail.
Yeah, it's not that easy to find the trail. So having an offline map, and Komoot, Komoot, was a really good one for us.
Yeah. So we did this gnarly uphill battle. Mm-hmm. We get there, and then the rest of it was pretty decent.
Yeah, and we were introduced to the cow culture.
Oof. Yeah, we get to, what is the first one called?
Fodara Vedla.
Fodara Vedla. And this place was gorgeous. This one, since we had 16 people, we had a majority of most refuge. So we had 3 rooms, and they were all to ourselves. And we had 2 bathrooms that were with the heated floors, and very nice bathroom, very nice amenities.
It was a luxury stay.
It was a luxury stay. And throughout the entire place, there were just beautiful cows just roaming around, getting close to us, from far to close, and very, very nice. I don't know if we were able to pet them or we were supposed to pet them, but I pet, I think, 6 cows my first day there, and it was literally, I've never pet a cow, and it made me so freaking happy. They were so nice. Some of them gave me licks. There was a sign that we saw afterwards that said, stay away from cows, but I think it was
we didn't see that sign.
I think it was in Italian, so No, it was very beautiful, and we were introduced to this beautiful refugio. I keep saying that wrong, and it was nice drinks, nice food. The dinner there was absolutely amazing, and it was a phenomenal introduction to the Alta Via 1.
Yeah, it was probably one of the fanciest places that we stayed at.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just list really quickly the refugios that we stayed at because we probably won't go like day by day through all 9 days.
Yeah.
So the ones that we stayed at was Fodara Vedla, Fanes was the second one, Lagazoi, Averau, Stalanza, Vazilaire, Paso Duran, and Pian de Fontana.
So that's
eight nights, 9 days.
8 nights, 9 days.
Yeah.
And
they vary. I mean, most of them have Wi-Fi.
mm-hmm.
Most of the Wi-Fi is free, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
The food was all good.
All was good.
You get a 3-course meal for dinner.
And dessert.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you get a buffet breakfast.
Oh, the breakfasts were so good. Just
the breakfast
hams,
is good.
cheeses, boiled eggs, croissants, Nutella till your eyes bleed. I loved it. It was
it
so
was good.
Yogurt, a lot of yogurt, a lot of cereal.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a couple of people that were gluten-free and they accommodated to that.
Yeah.
They were
really good about dietary stuff.
Very good about dietary stuff with the breakfasts and the packed lunches because you ordered packed lunches every day.
Mm-hmm.
And they were really good about making sure the packed lunches were ready to go when we needed to take off. We told them when we needed to be on the hike again, and they made sure to get the gluten-free stuff, and the gluten-free people weren't missing out. It wasn't like, oh, you get less food or anything like that. It was just like gluten-free bread, and it's the same lunch.
They were taken care of for sure.
And the lunches were cool. There was like a sandwich, a chocolate bar, and an apple. They loved giving people apples. We got a lot of apples on our lunches.
A lot of uneaten apples.
Yeah, I started eating them afterwards because it's just like, okay, I have 3 apples in my backpack. I need to start shedding some weight.
They're weighing you down.
Yeah. So then the next day we did a hike, and it was also amazing. And we stayed at what was the?
Refugio Fanes.
Refugio Fanes.
Yeah, and that one, I thought that day 2 was one of the best days because we did 2 little extracurricular activities after we arrived to Fanes.
Yes.
And one of them is that we hiked. It was about a 20-minute mostly uphill walk.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad. We walked to a lake. And I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it was one that you can swim in.
Mm-hmm.
And it was beautiful.
Gorgeous.
So we walked up there. We all jumped in, had a nice chilly swim.
Yep.
Yeah, that was really awesome. And then we went back down to Refugio Fanes and took a shower. And then we walked to La Varela, which is 15-minute walk, maybe.
That was the brewery?
The brewery.
Yeah.
And that's the highest microbrewery in the Dolomites
all
or in
of
Europe. I'm not sure which one, but yeah, La Varela was a really cool place to check out as well.
Yeah,
So day 2 was a lot of fun.
Day 2 was a lot of fun.
And it was a shorter day.
Yes, it was a shorter day. A lot of fun. Easy trail. Wasn't anything too crazy. And I say that now because we don't know what was coming up. And
dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. And the microbrewery was very nice, family owned, and there were some cows there too. Yeah, it was super fun. And what I like about the Refugio, we didn't get like a private room or a private bathroom, but warm water. You didn't have to pay. You didn't have like a 3-minute shower timeline. You didn't have a coin. It was just like take a shower whenever, and it was really, really nice. Everybody got a towel. Yeah. It was really, really nice one. And then that was night 2.
Mm-hmm.
So then day 3, we're hiking and we're going to which Refugio?
Day 3 was to Lagazoi.
Oh,
and
man.
This is kind of an interesting day because we had somebody who rolled their ankle on day 2 coming down a downhill. So something to know about the Dolomites is that there's a lot of gravel. So you're really hiking on gravel most of the time.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of downhill sections. So when you're going downhill and you have this slippery gravel, it can just sometimes result in rolled ankles, which we had several in our group. So we had a pretty bad rolled ankle on day 2. So on day 3, most of the group, 14 out of 16 of us, went to Lagazoy on foot, and Enzo took one of the members of our group to Lagazoy via a series of local buses, which, just so you know, it is not easy to navigate the Italian public transportation system.
I felt like I was in the Amazing Race, honestly, because I would have preferred to go hiking that 3-hour uphill again than to do that, because it wasn't that bad. But what we had to do is, from that refugio, we had to take a van into town, and we took a van into town. And the gentleman was nice enough to take us to the closer town, so we skipped the bus. So we didn't. We had to take, I think, 4 buses, but he cut a bus for us out by taking us closer. And then we had to take a bus from one city to another city, and then immediately get off and jump on another bus. And all this while not speaking a lick of Italian. I mean, I speak Spanish.
And the drivers don't speak English.
The drivers
probably.
don't speak English, and they're driving through the Dolomites, so they're focused. And I'm trying to ask questions, and I'm just trying to say key words so they can tell me, like, which bus to get on. So I get off the first bus, jump on the second bus. Literally, like, as the bus is running away, I'm like, I got to get off on this one. And we get on the second bus. And then after that one, we get on that bus for like 15 minutes. And I'm trying to talk to this guy while I'm also trying not to throw up, because I'm super nauseous on these windy roads, and trying to talk to this guy in English while he only speaks Italian. And then I just tell him which city I need to go on, and just yell at me when I need to get off. And did that. And then I got on a third bus. And this was really cool because I met somebody that was doing the Alta Via 7, and the Canadian Greek man. And shout out to that man, because he spoke English, and he's like, I know which stop you need to get off at. And then we got off at that stop, and then we took the final bus. So we took 4 buses
and a gondola
to the base of Lagazoy. And then once we got there, and that was a long one. That was like a, I don't know, 35-minute bus. And then we got off there, and then we took a gondola up to Lagazoy. And from the time that we got there with all those buses to when you got there was probably like an hour and a half difference.
Wow.
Between that, because there were so many buses, and it's not a straight shot. I mean, if you had a car, it'd probably be real quick, but you were just jumping bus to bus, and it was definitely an adventure. But we were able to make it. And we got to Lagazoy, and Lagazoy, that place really took my breath away. It was gorgeous. It was on top of a mountain. You literally felt like you were in the clouds. The food was amazing. The people were super nice, and there was a lot of day travelers, because it is off the gondola is right off the road. So you could just take the gondola right up to Lagazoy and get this amazing view, and then just go back down. As well as there was a lot of other cool stuff up there too, like the World War I tunnels and all those World War I. There was a big war between Italy and Austria during World War I, and there was a lot of these mountains that had caves through them that all these Italian army men were just staking out or living in through the war, just looking at the Austrian border, and we got to walk through them, and that was really, really special, because it's nuts what they were living in or what they were walking through, and to think that there was just a war happening right there, it was really eye-opening.
Yeah, day 3 was awesome for both of us.
Yeah.
I mean, the walk was awesome, and I think the moral of the story with the public transportation thing is that there are a lot of exit strategies on this hike, on the AV1. Mm-hmm. So if something happens and you need to get to a road, just talk to the refugios, because they have the best information on what needs to be done to get you out as quickly as possible. or to get you to the next refugio so that you can just skip a day and have a day to rest.
Yeah.
So there are plenty of options, and there's not a ton of information available online about these options because it's so localized. Because like these people at Fanes, where we stayed on the second night, they have a car. But you wouldn't find that information online. You don't know that they can drive you somewhere. And even the local guides who were also staying there didn't have that information. So if anything happens, just ask the owners or somebody who works at the refugio what you can do, and they can help you get out.
And with the car and all the buses, it took me 45 euros. 45 euros to get from the one refugio to the next.
Including the cable car, which was 18.
That was 18.
Right? The gondola.
Yeah, that was 18. The car service was 15. And then the rest, it was like the buses were like 5. And the biggest one was 8. Mm-hmm. And
and then that day, so day 3 from Fanes to Lagazoy, the walk, there's a section there that is one of the most discussed sections along the AV1. And as someone who's afraid of heights, I just want to talk briefly about what that was like, because I actually was not nervous about this section because I had done a ton of research, and because I was scared. So I had done a ton of research and looked up this section, and I saw plenty of people saying it's not as bad as it looks. So I told the group that. I said, there's this section, it looks intimidating, but once you start going down the switchbacks, it's not as bad as it looks. And I will report that I have the exact same sentiment to that. You get there and it has this insane view, and you're going down these switchbacks that, like, once you get to the bottom and you look back up, it's like, I can't believe I just did that trail. But as you're going down it, it feels very safe. It's not a very steep downhill grade. So the switchbacks are awesome, and I didn't feel unsafe at all. And I'm talking about the switchbacks going down. I can't remember the exact name of the pass, but they go down to Lago di Lagazoy. And then after you go to that lake, which we also swam in, and that was awesome. After you go down to that lake, you go all the way back up to like you gain, it's probably another 1,000+ feet of elevation all the way back up to Lagazoy. And on the way, there's some war tunnels, not the ones that descend like down into the mountain, but there's some like smaller tunnels that you can explore on the way up to Lagazoy, which are so cool.
Yeah, it was like a frontier, and like it looks like on one side you're able to just walk into the mountain. On the other side, it's just a small hole, and it looks like they were just like rifling from that side. So it was very interesting. I tried to walk down and meet you guys on the lake, and I started walking down, and I got like an hour in, and me and Sam were just like, oh, wow, that's a lot further than it actually was. So
it was far. It was a long day.
Yeah.
It was a long day getting up to Lagazoy. But once we got up there, something that we haven't mentioned yet is that they have a sauna. So they have this barrel sauna, and it can fit 6 people pretty comfortably. Mm-hmm. And so they gave us robes and towels, and we all took turns going in the barrel sauna, and it has this amazing mountain view, of course. And Lagazoy just has this huge outdoor deck with just like the craziest views all around. You're up in the clouds, and then there's like this little hike or like further walk that you can do to a cross, and it takes maybe 10 minutes to get there, and it's stunning. So Lagazoy is a really awesome like highlight of the Alta Via one.
Yeah, big time. And then the next morning.
Yeah, so the next morning we woke up for sunrise, which highly recommend.
Before we go, the sauna, it's 25 euros.
Yeah.
Wasn't free.
And it's a separate reservation, so email them in advance about the sauna. Yeah, it is not free.
And you have to reserve
25 euros for an hour.
Yeah, and you don't want to be there an hour. It's kind of a crazy idea. Like you're at elevation, and you're probably dehydrated from your hike, and be like, you want to sweat a little more? Why don't you get in this barrel?
It was awesome.
It was awesome.
But when we were in there, we were like, is this a good idea? Like, we probably shouldn't be losing more fluids.
Yeah, definitely. But it was awesome. So yeah, the next morning we wake up for sunrise.
Yeah, we woke up around 5 a.m. The sunrise is really early. So if you want to see the sunrise in July, you need to get up at 5. So we went out and watched the sunrise, walked to the cross, and just kind of like walked around a little, and we're just in awe of like the sun coming up over the mountains. And then we ordered some coffees and had our breakfast, and then we got started for the day. And there's several options to get from Lagazoy to Averau, and the one that we opted for was to go through the World War I tunnels. So you can, what we decided to do was we sent our bags on the gondola, so you can pay €7 per person, and you get to put your backpack on the gondola, and they take it down to the bottom for you so that you can go down the tunnels without your backpack.
Which is a big help.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool because the tunnels are obviously like straight down.
And we could have, I mean, we could have fit with our bags.
Yeah,
but
we totally could have fit with our bags.
It wouldn't have been comfortable.
Yeah, it was just, I think it was more fun.
It was nice
to
to
not
just
have a backpack. We could have done it with him, but
yeah,
it was nice to just like, send it down to the bottom. We picked it up when we
Take
got down
my
there.
bags.
You have to have a headlamp because
Pitch black.
Pitch black in these tunnels.
Not all of it. There are some areas that, like, again, there's like a pitch black tunnel, and then to the left, then it's like
there's like a lookout
and a view, because these are the World War I tunnels, and like they were just looking out in different areas, and there was one area that you saw that they still kept intact, the dining room
like
with the beds.
House.
It's a bunkhouse inside the cave. It was crazy, and that took
It's really freaking cool. If
well
you're
worth
gonna
it.
be up at Lagazoy, definitely check out the tunnels.
Yeah, and if you have FOMO about missing the hike, because what me, Sam, and a couple of us did, we did the tunnels. We went down, and it was like an hour and a half, and then afterwards, we didn't want to miss the hike that you're supposed to take, the original hike. So we took the gondola back up, and then did the hike how you're quote unquote supposed to do it. And that was cool. Halfway through it, I'm like, man, I wish I would have just
not done the
extra hike. But I missed the day before, so I'm like, I need to get my miles back in. So, but let's talk a little bit about when things start to get a little scary. And that was
scary for me, not really scary for
scary for
people.
A couple of people in our trip. I mean, first, getting to these tunnels, you have to walk on this ridge.
Yeah. So I would say that was day
4.
3.
Was
it day 4?
Yeah, that was night 3, day 4.
Day 4, yeah. Going from Lagazoy to Averau. Getting to the tunnels and after the tunnels was the first time that I felt pretty exposed on the Alta Via one. Because there's like, you're kind of like walking on this narrow ridge to get down into the tunnels.
Yeah, it's like to the left is a mountain, to the right is not.
Yeah.
It's just nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt a little nervous getting into the tunnels. On the tunnels, I felt very comfortable. I did not feel scared.
Claustrophobic.
We even had one girl in our group who was very claustrophobic, and she kind of warned us about that in advance, and she was totally fine. She said there was plenty of space. She never felt confined or anything. And then once we went down through the tunnels and we came out on the other side, there's a short cabled section that made me pretty uncomfortable. Most of the group was really fine with it. Even the people who have heights issues, most of them didn't really have an issue with the section, but me and one other girl were pretty freaked out. So
and I'm not afraid of hikes, and I wasn't scared, but I was alert. I was like, hey,
you realize that there's a drop off.
Yeah, you got to watch every step. You're very purposeful about each step that you take. You're very focused on it, because I mean, there is a little bit of energy, you got to be on it, because if you do take a bad step, you are falling.
Yeah.
So and not everyone. No, there was little kids that were doing it. There was older people that were doing it. It's like, it's not like a life or death, not like Angels Falling. Or is that what
Angels
it's
Landing?
Angels Landing.
Angels falling off the landing.
Angels falling off the land. But yeah, there was like a sense of alertness to be like, hey, you gotta.
And I felt that quite a bit on the Alta Via one. I felt that it took a lot of mental energy to to walk on these trails, not just when it was narrow or steep, but also because it's just gravelly.
Mm-hmm.
So you're really kind of paying attention to where you're putting your feet and looking down. And anytime people would like look up and like have a conversation, you are
Just
gonna either fall or twist your ankle.
Don't
like
move if you're looking up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of mental energy to walk the Alta Via one. I would say more so than I had anticipated and more than any other trail that I have personally been on.
Okay. And then we do this hike and we go through this beautiful green pasture with a lot of amazing flowers. We pass this lake and then we get to we have to do a little bit of climbing on this.
There's a little bit of an uphill scramble, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Up to Averau.
And then we get to Averau. And Averau was really cool because you got to see the Cinque Torres.
Yeah, Cinque Torre. Really good views from Averau. Nuvolau is up a ridge from there. It's another place that you can stay. And it's about a 20-minute walk up, like a steep kind of uphill walk up a ridge. But yeah.
That was nuts. And it was like a big ski lodge up there. You saw like all the not the gondolas.
There's a ski lift.
The ski lift there. And yeah, that was a really nice place. The dinner there was so much food. It was amazing.
If you're staying at Averau, you should walk down to Cinque Torre. It's not that far. I think
30 minutes.
In 30 minutes you can get down there. And it's really beautiful. So definitely walk down there from Averau.
So that's night 5, right?
That was night 4.
Night 4.
Yes. And then day 5, we walked to Stellanza.
And day 5, the start of day 5 was interesting. Now, you didn't do it. Mimi didn't do it. But
yeah, you really need to pay attention when you're leaving Averau and Nuvolau. And the guidebooks talk about this too, because
there's 2 routes.
Yeah, there's a couple different routes. And there's one that if you don't really want to do a big steep downhill in the morning, you can just take the road.
It was very steep and very narrow. The switchbacks were very narrow, very steep. I was on my hands and feet for a portion of it, and you're just going pretty much almost a 90 degrees straight down.
Yeah, pay attention when you're leaving Averau and make sure that you avoid that section if you don't want to do something.
And
like
it's
that.
only for like 30 minutes, but it's like, 30 minutes sitting down or 30 minutes going down a mountain.
I took a road and it was really chill.
And then after that, it's pretty chill for a while. That was a really nice day. That was kind of
it was a nice day.
A shorter day.
It was the only day too that except for the very last day, but it was the only day that we had a sprinkle of rain. We were in the rain for about 10 minutes.
We got very lucky with weather.
Yeah, we did.
It was a longer day, but it was not a lot of elevation, not a lot of descent. The trek was, the road was very wide and it wasn't, anything crazy. And then we get to one of my favorite refugios. That's the bougie one with the spa. Stellanza.
And I have seen several comments of people saying online that they didn't like Stellanza, but we really liked Stellanza.
We like Stellanza.
I've heard that their dorms are not very clean.
Oh, see, we
stayed in the private rooms. We had 2 people in each room, which highly recommend. Just ball out and do it. Yeah. Because apparently the dorms are not very nice, but the private rooms were great.
Can we talk about a little bit before we got there? That gravelly part, that wasn't any fun. Remember that we had to go up and down through those gravels that you had to you don't remember the Dolomite?
That was the next day.
No, because we were with you, me, and Mimi. We were walking through and there was the white Dolomite part it was kind of up and down. And to get to this refugio, there was a little bit of a scramble. We had to get on our butts sometimes. It was at the very, very end before we got to this place.
The very end to get to Stellanza was in the forest.
But before the forest, I don't know. Anyways, we'll look at the tape, see who's right.
I think you're talking about the next day.
Okay, so we get there. Get to this, and the owner, Marco, He is crazy. Like
Yeah, he's a mountaineer.
He's a mountaineer. He's got a book out there that he's climbed so many mountains, and it's very holistic place. And we stayed at the private, so it was very nice for us. We were able to pay for a spa there, which wasn't very expensive, and we did the spa there.
They have a sauna, steam room,
cold showers, reclining chairs, reclining like lawn chairs. And
it was relaxing.
it was very, very relaxing. Dinner was amazing. There was a dog there named Lola, which she was
Precious golden retriever.
so cute. And then, yeah, we had a night there. And again, all the breakfasts were amazing, very filling. I know I talk a lot about food, but it was. Why do you laugh?
Nothing.
You're making fun of me for liking breakfast?
Mm-hmm.
Breakfast was a brazen.
Inside jokes.
And then, and then we start day 6. Yeah, that was night 5.
Day 6, we went from Stellanza to Vazoler.
Vazoler. Is that when we passed TC? No.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that day, it was nice. It was. I remember we were hiking along this very.
That was the day that we did or maybe it was Vazoler to Paso de Ran when we did all that gravel, like the rockfall crossing. Yeah, that was after Vazoler.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Stellanza to Vazoler is when we passed the lake.
Yes.
The lake that you guys swam in.
The lake that we weren't supposed to swim in.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of
Cold
controversy. Yeah, Coldai.
Coldai. So
we had to
that day has a lot of uphill.
A lot of uphill.
We did a big uphill.
Steep uphill.
We did a big steep uphill to get to that lake.
Yep.
And then
there was a nice little refugio on the top.
Yeah, Refugio Coldai.
We had our friend sing for us, which was beautiful, which sang Landslide, which ironic.
Yeah. And then we went to Lago Coldai and we had lunch there. And that is one of the best views on the AV1.
It was gorgeous. We got in the lake. A lot of people said we can't go in the lake. We asked the Refugio guy, said, you can get in. You're not going to want to get in because it's freezing. People told us we shouldn't get in afterwards. So now we know. We probably shouldn't have gotten in.
Supposedly, from what I've read online, is that you're not supposed to swim in the lakes because it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Mm-hmm. But there were several other people swimming. There's not a single sign that says don't swim in these lakes. So if you're a lake swimmer, I would just go for it because you're not going to get in trouble with anyone. And this, I mean, especially if you see other people swimming, like...
Yeah.
There are no signs.
Do what you want.
Swim.
We don't condone any of your behaviors, but
don't do anything illegal, but we swam in the lakes.
Yeah. Somebody jumped in the lake and that was gnarly, from a cliff. And, but yeah, that whole day we were hiking along this huge face of this mountain and it was enormous.
A beautiful day.
It was beautiful.
And that was a day that you can walk up to Refugio Tissi after Coldai, or you can take this easier side path that doesn't have any elevation gain all the way to Refugio Vazoler. Yeah. So our group kind of went 50-50. Some people went up to Tissi and some people avoided that entire uphill section. I would say now that I have talked to people that have done both and I've done the easier route, I wish that I would have gone up to Refugio Tissi because it seems like the views were out of this world, and I think that it's definitely worth it to go up there.
You know, it would have been nice. Make this instead of a 9-day, a 10-day. Stayed at Tissi, and then the next one
go to Vazoler or further. Yeah,
that would have been.
Yeah, so we did the AV one in 9 days, and I personally would have enjoyed 10 to 11 days, which I know some people do. And then you have some really short days, but you're in one of the most beautiful places in the world. So
you're just resting.
If you're only hiking for 2 to 3 hours, sounds pretty nice.
Sounds really nice.
Yeah.
Because once we get to the next Refugio, things get interesting.
Yeah, it started getting, I would say like my fear of heights was really challenged on the last 3 days of the AV1. So once we went from Vasaler to Paso Duran, there was like a huge gravel rock, like a rockfall type of crossing that day that was a little bit challenging as far as like narrow path and kind of like steep drop offs, a lot of incline, a lot of decline. So that day was pretty challenging to get down to Paso Duran, and it ended with a lot of decline. You go up to that one Refugio Carestiato, I think it's called, where we had the lemon sodas. Highly recommend drinking lemon sodas. And then we went all the way downhill to Paso Duran.
That was like, I had two crabby moments. And I think
that was one.
One of them was just like, I just want to get this done, because they're long days.
Yeah.
And you've been hiking for so many days.
The days are long. We did several 10-mile days, and in the Dolomites, 10 miles is a lot.
And with great weather, it's good and bad, because it's just hot.
Yeah, it was really hot. Not a lot of shade.
Not a lot of shade.
There were days where we had no shade
and
options.
My knees were barking. It was tough. I mean, it was beautiful. I don't regret anything, but it was tough. And then the final 2 days. Well, wait, we stayed at.
So then we stayed at Vasaler, which was
very remote.
The most remote and basic place we stayed. It felt very crowded. The views are incredible.
Best views.
On the outside.
Next to Lagazoy.
But the dorm room was really, really crowded. They just cram a lot of beds into that place. So
it's in the middle of nowhere.
I would say it was the least comfortable stay that we had, but the rest were luxury. So it's kind of hard to compare.
Yeah, and the people there, the owners was a family, very, very nice.
They were great.
They were really. There was a little bit of a mix up with booking, and they were like not only apologetic, but they were just very, very nice. They treated us to some grappa, and it was very nice. I really liked them a lot. The guy, the younger guy, he was really nice. And there's 2 dogs there, Benny and Nikki. I remember these dogs' names.
They were sweet.
They were very, very sweet. And then.
So then we got to Paso Duran. And that's the one where we all stayed in the dorm rooms. It's kind of a lower level. I think we pretty much had the whole place booked out at Paso Duran with the 16 of us. And it had great showers. It had great food. I think maybe definitely one of the best meals that we had. And the breakfast was really good. And
remember Jamie.
The workers were really, really friendly.
Very friendly.
Yeah.
And I just gotta add, all very handsome men.
Yeah, there's some hot guys that work there.
Dude, there was like 4 guys that worked there, and all of them were like 10s. I was like, what are you
there
guys
were some very handsome gentlemen
eating here?
Yeah.
Just tall, dark, and handsome. And I was just like, my goodness.
Yeah, they were cute.
And
so that was a great place to stay. There's also Refugio San Sebastiano, which is like maybe just a couple minutes walk down the road. And I think that one is a great place to stay as well. So just so you know, that's walkable. Those are both on the road as well. So they have road access. And the last 2 days were really intense.
Yes, because there were 10-mile days. Both of them.
The last day may have been shorter because remember Kamut was kind of messed up with that extra thing.
Yeah. I think it might have been like 7.
7, yeah. But the last 2 days were really, really wild.
Day 8 was the toughest.
Yeah, day 8 we went from Paso Duran to Pian de Fontana, and I will say this is one day that Kamut kind of failed us because Kamut took us like on this forest path where we all kind of got lost, and there was a lot of uphill.
That's where Omar rolled his ankle.
No, it was that was later in the day. That wasn't on that part.
Okay.
Yeah. But so when you're at Paso Duran, you need to just stay on the road. So you're gonna just take the road, walk on the road until you get to the path. Don't immediately cross the street and start into the forest after Paso Duran. We went the wrong way.
It added probably like 30 minutes to our day,
but
to
uphill.
A very long day, and it was uphill, and it was wet because it rained so hard the night before. So it was tough.
It was an unwelcome.
Yeah.
Everyone was fine, but it was just a detour that was unnecessary. So stay along the road. It's a really long day. And then it wasn't too bad. So we started walking, and then you kind of get to that area where you reach Pramperette, the lodge that you guys walked down to. The pizza place where they're making pizzas.
Yeah.
So you get to like when you're reading in the guidebooks about this section, you see that like after Pramperette, you shouldn't really attempt this section of the trail
if
it's raining, if it's foggy, because it's pretty exposed and pretty high up, and there's also like a gigantic freaking downhill afterwards. So what you do after Pramperette, you just kind of cross this like wide open rocky terrain, and then you start climbing, and then you get to this ridge, and it's kind of like an exposed ridge.
And nobody talks about this ridge.
With like mountain drops on both, like huge drops on both sides. And then you kind of get to this part where you probably want to put your poles away, and you're kind of on your hands and feet on this section that might take 10-15 seconds, and then you're at the top, and there's like this wide open like plateau grassy area, which is a really welcome rest from what you just had to come across that was really exposed. And as a person who's afraid of heights, that section did not bother me. Honestly, it did not bother me.
Did you even notice?
Downhill after bothered me.
Yeah. Well, the first off, that view from that green pasture area was one of the best views I've ever seen. You could see the entire Dolomites from one spot, 360 view of the entire Dolomites.
Insane view.
And then
it makes it all worth it.
Yeah. Then we're like a mile and a half away from our refugio, and it took us 2 hours because it's all downhill, and it is steep downhill, and it is. Oh, that was the second time I got real crappy. I was like, mother effing the entire mountain, because it's gravel. It's downhill. Gravel downhill, and it was.
You had to be really careful.
Really careful, and yeah, it was.
And getting down to Pian de Fontana, you wouldn't know there's a trail there. Because it's so narrow and so steep, and there are some sections that have cables, which are nice. But there's a lot of sections that don't.
Yeah, most of it didn't.
And it is a knee buster.
Yeah. My knees got busted. I swear, we were talking about it. I think they should just add an escalator on the way down. I think that would fix everyone's problem.
Everyone's thinking it.
I think we're going to start a fundraiser, the Dolomite Escalator Program, the DEP, and we'll put a link below to contribute to the
GoFundMe
to the Dolomite Escalator Program. But no,
But Pian de Fontana is a magical freaking place.
Yes, it's beautiful.
It felt like being on an island in the mountains.
Yeah.
Because you're like on this little strip of land.
A little pasture.
And this tiny refugio that feels like nothing should be there. And it's just, you're surrounded by, it's so green. You're like a little lower elevation. So everything around it is super green. And it's just like nestled into this hillside, and it makes no sense. And the people that own it are so friendly. Elena was the name of the woman who I chatted with a bit. And that was one of my favorite stays because it just felt so authentic, so small. And I really enjoyed staying there.
It was nice. The dorms were pretty nice. That one you had to pay for a shower, or you had to pay for a warm shower.
Free cold showers. And the hot shower was €3 for 15 liters of hot water.
Yeah, so you had to like turn it on and use it when you wanted to and turn it off. So it wasn't the time thing; it was a liter thing, which I liked.
Yeah, it was nice.
And then worth it. Comes the last day, and we did a last day that was great. It was easy in the beginning. It was very wide. We were walking on a road for
It started off with a steeper downhill.
And that narrow part.
And it had rained, so it was pretty slippery.
But then we had that narrow part that you couldn't look up.
Yeah, and then you climb.
Yep.
So you're like going downhill, and then all of a sudden you start going uphill, and it's like, what is this? Because this day is 5,000 feet of downhill.
And like, why are we going uphill?
And so then you're going up and you're kind of confused. And then you get like on the edge of a freaking cliff.
Yeah.
That is pretty exposed with a huge drop off that me and the other gal in the group who were pretty afraid of heights were very aware of.
Yeah.
Other people in the group who were not as afraid of heights were just kind of like, wow, this is awesome. And it was. The views are incredible. But it was challenging. It was a really challenging day, I think, especially because it had rained and was kind of slippery. So then after the big, like the narrow ledge section, you start descending again until you get to, there's another refugio down there called Bianchet.
Is that a refugio or just kind of like a...
It's a refugio.
Okay.
So it's a 2-hour walk to Bianchet, or 2 to 2.5.
And that's where we got like coffee, got some
eggs.
Dude.
They had really good hard-boiled eggs.
They had the best hard-boiled eggs. I don't know if I was just hungry, but their hard-boiled eggs were...
We ate like 2 of them each, I think.
Yeah, they were really, really good.
We kept buying hard-boiled eggs. And then it was like another 2.5 hours down to La Pisa bus stop. So the whole day is 4 to 5 hours to get from Pian de Fontana to La Pisa bus stop. And there was like this really awesome wide road after Bianchet for over an hour that was great. It felt so good to be just like in an open,
we're just walking
a wide trail, talking to each other.
Like, it was barely a descent.
Very calm. And then suddenly there was like another turn off.
Yeah.
Where you have about 20 minutes left to get down to La Pisa bus stop, and they make you freaking work for it. Yeah. And it is downhill. It is steep.
It is slippery.
It was really rooted. Slippery. And then
you just get shot out into the side of the highway with like no like ta-da. I mean, there was a very beautiful.
There's no like good job, you finished the AV1. Like it's maybe like a sign or something.
Semis just.
You come down this set of like 10 concrete stairs,
trying to get a ride afterwards.
And then you're on the highway.
Just trying to get a ride.
And there's like no shoulder.
No.
And you're like, okay, well, I hope I don't get hit by a car after I hiked for 9 days.
Yeah, literally. That's when I felt the most scared, next to that highway. And there were people honking at us, and it was like, shut up. We just want to lay down. But there was that beautiful little waterfall.
All of a sudden there's just this waterfall with this bright blue water, and you just look at it, but you can't get to it.
Nope. Just, you want this?
You see it from high up, but you can't get down to it.
You tired?
It was really, really pretty.
Yeah, it was like
I guess that's your prize for completing the AV1.
A nice little waterfall. And then we take a taxi service or a bus. I mean, most people take a bus, but we took a taxi service to Belluno, and we stayed there a night. And that was beautiful. That was a nice little town there, and it was relaxing. We were just eating a bunch, getting some ice cream. Very cute little town.
Yeah, Belluno was a good spot to end. I would not have wanted to hop on a train and go back to Venice on the same day that we finished the AV1. The last day was a little hard, so we really just wanted to rest. So I would recommend staying one night in Belluno. I wouldn't stay more than one night. I don't think there's all that much to do there. But stay one night in Belluno and then catch a train. There's a train station there. So catch a train back to Venice the next morning. And that's it.
The Alta Via 1.
That's the Alta Via 1.
Magical. It was beautiful. It was a pain in the ass. Just like our life.
Yeah. Just like life.
Yeah.
One thing that I do want to chat about really quick, because I think some people are curious, since we have now done both the Tour de Mont Blanc and the Alta Via 1. And I see a lot of people asking online, which one's better? What's your opinion? Which one should I do? Blah, blah, blah. In my opinion, it's like, I want to tell you what I think about both of them, but I also want to say do them both.
Yes. Yeah, I think you should experience both of them because both have pros, both have cons. And for me, I'm not a hiker. I enjoyed them both thoroughly. I think, when it comes to, like, let's say refugios, I think the Alta Via 1 had better refugios. When it comes to the hikes and the views, maybe the T&B sometimes beats it here and there because, you're just looking at one mountain, but you're looking at different sides of it, and then you're walking through towns, which is really cute. So you get a lot of more mixed stuff.
Yeah, the TMB has a lot more towns.
Yeah, a lot of more
whereas
towns.
the AV one has 0 towns.
You're hiking through nothing.
It's
like
just
the
refugios.
Dolomites and
Yeah.
refugio. So it's a taste of both. It's a taste of both, but I don't know. Maybe I'm biased because the TMB was the first big hike that I ever did, but that has a good place in my heart. But the AV one, man, that was insane.
I think that the TMB also has a few more options to take ski lifts and
A lot of more road
gondolas.
access.
So like if you're in a position where you're like, I really don't want to do this 3-hour downhill, there's often the option on the TMB to skip it.
Yeah.
Which we did, and I didn't feel guilty for a second. I didn't feel like I missed any part of the experience.
Nothing.
Because we had people in our group who didn't skip it. Like they decided they wanted to walk every step. And when we asked them about it, they were like, yeah, it was just like a dusty 3-hour downhill section that is the same view that you get from the gondola.
Without the knee pain.
Yeah, without the knee pain. So I thought that was really cool on the TMB to be able to like have a little more options to skip the really, really challenging downhills. And I thought that the TMB, the terrain was easier to navigate as far as like more wide paths. And I think like just less like loose, gravelly sections,
Yeah.
I would say.
Absolutely.
They're both hard, really hard. They both have a ton of uphill. They both have a ton of downhill. They're both equally worth doing.
Yeah,
they
they're
both
both-
have amazing food.
Yeah.
They both have amazing,
I
iconic
think
places
the
to
TMB
stay.
beats dinners. Like I think DMB wins in dinners, but the AV1 beats in breakfast. I love the breakfast. All right. Well, you got anything else?
I will just say that we have several upcoming trips with Travel Light, and check out our women's yoga and meditation retreat to Sedona
Yeah.
coming up October 16th to 20th. I have a couple spots left on that one.
Yeah.
We're taking you guys to Patagonia again in November. Enzo's first time to Patagonia. We're really, really excited
And
about
that
that.
one's filling up.
Yeah, that
That
one's filling
one's-
up. We are going trekking on a glacier. We're doing the iconic W trek, which is a 5-day, 50-mile trek. A lot easier than the Alta Via one,
It
but
better be.
equally stunning and beautiful. You see glaciers and icebergs. It's really spectacular.
Yeah.
And
If you're interested in joining any of our trips, well, first follow Melanie at Travel Tooch.
follow me on Instagram.
And then go to-
TOOCH. Send me a message if you have any questions. Too. I
Yeah.
love getting messages from you guys.
Send her a message, talk to her, slide into her DMs. And if you want to look at any other trips that we've done in the past or upcoming trips, go to travellightadventures.com and check out our website and come on a trip. Get the PTO.
Come on a trip.
Come on a trip. Just book
Yeah.
it. What's the expression?
Buy the flight.
Buy the flight.
Book the flight.
Book the flight. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Holly.
Bye.